Now, in another conversation today, Sierra Leone joins the world to commemorate the International Day of Nonviolence on the theme Fostering Global Solidarity Through Nonviolence. So this morning, we are going to discuss the progress we've made as a nation in combating violence and issues around human rights. In the studio, we have the Executive Secretary, Human Rights Defenders Network, Sierra Leone, Alphonsus Gbanie. And also online, we have, in our second segment, we have via Zoom El Kasano, the Public Relations Officer, who is presently in Nigeria, Abuja to be specific, and he'll be speaking on the judiciary and the ECOWAS Court of Justice. Based on the theme, the ECOWAS Court and international law, expanding access and navigating contemporary challenges, as the Sierra Leone Chief Justice will be speaking. Good morning, Sano.
Good morning. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely, I can hear you. Are you getting me clear?
But your own is not coming out.
That's how you can't hear. We can't hear you.
We cannot hear you.
I'll have the technical team work on that, on the connection, but with me in the studio, I have...
We are hearing you. Okay, now we're hearing.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, Elkas, thank you so much. Now let's touch on the theme a little bit before getting into the ECOWAS Court itself. Now, the theme says expanding access and navigating contemporary challenges. One may wonder why such a theme chosen at this time.
I'm not hearing you. Your net from your end is breaking, it's cracking.
Okay, so we'll have the technical team work on it. Let's come back to the guest in the studio, Alphonsus Gbanie. We'll come back to you, Elkas, once it's sorted out. Good morning, Alphonsus, and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
What's your assessment on the aspect of peace in country at the moment?
It's a gradual process. It's not only the absence of war that you can suggest that there is peace, but if you put together a number of parameters, you will say Sierra Leone, we are enjoying relative peace in the country, even though the Global Peace Index suggests that globally Sierra Leone is 57. It's ranked 57 under the Global Peace Index, and for the MRU, we are the second. For Africa, we are the fifth, or whatsoever. So they have their own indicators that they use to determine the level of peace and quietness in a country. But if we go down in our local context to determine what is peace, you can get the interpretation from various angles. For the layman in the village, what he means, to him, peace is all about going to the farm, do his harvesting, and return home and sleep. The young man, peace is for him or her to get job. Without job, he is not at peace. He or she is not at peace. For somebody that is running a home, that has a family, if you tell that particular individual, if it's a female-headed home, like single mothers, the peace you want to tell her now about peace is a situation where she could support her children, she could feed her children, she could go home and sleep well. And for a man, for him to ensure that his family eats, they go to school. So, it's a broad spectrum. But if you want to take it in a more simplified manner, peace is a situation where everybody, whether individually, at group or a family or a community, you are at peace within yourself and amongst your community.
Alphonsus, we've been commemorating or celebrating specific days, but honestly, what does this day really mean for Sierra Leone? Well,
the day to us, in terms of non-violence, it could be more of a reflection. It's not something probably we need to celebrate, but we need to reflect as to how we respond to both individual, family, community, and national level engagement. At times, we say at the community level, there's semblance of non-violence. And you will see communities, families living together, enjoying, doing some festivals. But when you look at the political dynamics, let's say for now, you see people moving up and down. Come 2028, 6 months prior to the election, or even just 2028 itself, when we are now in the toxic situation of politics, that's the time you see families fighting families, communities fighting communities, political parties fighting each other. So it tells you that we can enjoy peace, we can enjoy non-violence when there's no election. But the moment you talk about election, you start to see semblance of violence. So it tells you that political violence is playing a critical role. And so that is why I'm suggesting that this day is not a day for us to celebrate, but it's a day for us, our politicians, to do a thorough reflection. Because Sierra Leone is the only country I could remember in 2018 when they conducted a by-election, a constituency 110 in Freetown here. You saw somebody, galvanizing the ballot box, destroying it. And he went out without being arrested, without being charged. So it tells you that political violence is more on the rise because those that are in power always protect those people that commit a crime.
Alfonso, I've heard you say, even in other programs, I've heard you say that peace is a relative term, and the absence of war does not signify that a country is peaceful. Now, how does this commemoration connect to the daily struggles of ordinary citizens facing violence in country, in communities, and also from the state as well?
Yeah, that's why. You see, when you look at Sierra Leone for now, and if you go to the court, and thank God, at least Alcasa and the Chief Justice are in Abuja, because this is the judicial week. And the ECOWAS court is doing its opening session for today, which we are following up. And they tell you that they are expanding access to justice. And if you look at the TRC report, one of the issues they identify that led to the war is denial of justice, access to justice. People don't have the rights. People don't have the opportunity to enjoy justice in our judicial system. That led to the war. And if you look at current situation now, the melting point for this country, outside political tension, is focused or is centered on land-related crisis. So if you go to court, at least 85% of the cases in court are land-related cases. Either cases involving government versus communities or individuals, or land cases involving multinational corporations and communities and whatsoever. So these are the challenges we have. And the government needs to do something to address. This is an early warning sign. They are paying a blind eye to it. A number of people are going home aggrieved, with anger, with desperation, because they even go to court. The court will take 4, 5, 7 years to hand down a judgment on a land-related matter. Even though the evidences are there, they are so clear that this particular portion of land belongs to A community or B or an individual. But you will see the delay in dispensation of justice creates problems. So all those are parameters that affect peace and coexistence in the country. I could not talk about the daily cost of living because even when you look at somebody, let's take just for example the wage bill, the minimum wage, probably is 1,000. The bag of rice is about 600 leons. So if a family of 3 could buy a bag of rice, you are now gambling. It's now like a scale of preference. Do you want to eat and pay your house rent and forget about health, forget about education, forget about transportation? So it makes people live in a stressful mood. And when you are in a stressful mood, you are not at peace with yourself. And when you are not at peace with yourself, you are not at peace with the community.
Before we come to the government doing the most in terms of addressing the issue of violence, but political violence often resurfaces around election.
Yeah.
What lesson have we, as Sierra Leoneans, feel to learn, as we're heading towards the general elections?
What we are free to learn is to hold our politicians accountable. Is to hold those that perpetrate violence in election accountable. So it's like when there is time of election, you have a blanket. There is a blanket check for you to commit crime. And so the politicians have given a blanket check to whether thugs or other individuals that are bent on unleashing violence on their opponents. And that should not be the case. Election is not about violence. Election is not war. Everybody has the right to be president. But it will be chaotic for all of us to be president. Everybody will have the right to go to parliament. But we don't have that billion to host all of us. That is why we are doing elections, to elect some people to represent us in the parliament and somebody to head the country as a president. And so that should not be war. It's a way of touching the minds of people to convince them, present a case that people will understand that if we give you the opportunity, you can transform this country, even for generations yet unborn. But that's what we are failing. Because time again, time in, time out, there have never been cases. I could remember we recorded cases in the 2018 violence that nothing happened. In 2023, we witnessed what happened. Nothing happened. All successive government, all successive elections or past elections, there had been cases of violence, electoral violence. Nobody has ever been charged to court.
Would you say, the government is doing enough in terms of preventing violence, or is it that they're being silent about it and just waiting for things to actually escalate, before, they take heed?
Well, I will not say the government has been very slow or whether it's an omission. If it comes in terms of protest, the government is not silent in that. In fact, they are more proactive. Particularly if it's a protest that is against a city government, you will see them more active using the police to call down such protests or demonstration. But if it is in their own favor, it just go ahead and do what you want to do. But what they are silent on and what they have totally refused, and I'm referring to both APC and SAPP, what they have deliberately, I will not use this, I will use the word deliberately refused to do, is to address the issue of political violence.
Okay, we'll hold you there for a minute and let's see how best we can have Elkas Sano, who is the Director of Communications at the Judiciary of Sierra Leone. Good morning once again, if you can hear me, Elkas. Okay, Alfonso, let me come back to you. Do you think Sierra Leone as a nation, have made progress in the aspect of violence in country?
Yes and no. Progress in terms of addressing community violence. There's high level of successes in that. But in terms of addressing political violence, there's nothing to write home about. And so what we need to do to change the trajectory is for the political parties to take reasonable steps to hold their supporters accountable. It's just like when you have a home, your family, you, your wife, and your children, and one of your children commits a crime. Sometimes they flog that particular child. You punish that child. so that he will not commit the violence, or will not commit the same crime again. And that is what we are expecting political parties, particularly APC and SLPP, to do. But what they are doing, they pamper these people. In fact, if they are arrested, by the time they are arrested, they will call the police, and they will see police release them. So, a typical example is like the case of, even though he did not commit physical violence, but by the threat of violence, you put people on guard and you undermine the peace and stability. I'm referring to the issue of Chief Gadilu Kaikai that said he's going to unleash war that, you know, that nobody can imagine, that is even far worse than the previous war. He was just called and he was asked to apologize. If that statement came from a member of the opposition, he will not see the order of the day. He will not see the light. He should have been in Panama as we are speaking today. But because he's a member of the ruling party, they just trivialized the issue. And some of us, when somebody talked about war...
Are you trying to say much wasn't done?
Much wasn't done. Nothing was done. But we saw what happened with Howard Hunt on the issue of freedom of expression. Even though some of us condemn her utterances against the first family of the first lady, which was not correct, but the way they handle, if you look at the gravity, the statement of Gadilu Kaikai as against Howard Hunt, it's uncomparable. Howard Hunt is an individual issue. She attacked the first lady, and it was an issue they exchanged, not in public. But Gadilu challenged all of us in this country. He puts our lives at risk. And somebody that used the word that he will unleash war, and I could remember some of us when we are outside challenging for this so-called May 8th incident. We saw some of our colleagues being shot and killed. And you are refreshing my memory. I couldn't imagine how I felt at that particular day when I had that statement from a gentleman and the way the police conduct themselves in handling such incidences. That tells you that political parties are condoning violence and are supporting violence. It's wrong.
And what needs to be done, Alfonso?
What needs to be done is just to name and shame them. And that's what we are doing now. There is nothing we can do other than naming and shaming APC and SLPP for condoning violence in this country.
Alfonso, what's the status of human rights in Sierra Leone at the moment?
Generally, we are a little bit better in terms of human rights. We have seen the president expunge the public seditious and criminal libel, the Part 5 of the Public Order Act. Even though one of the challenges we are having is the issue of procession, public protest and whatsoever. That's the biggest challenge we have. At least there is some enjoyment on the issue of political participation. There are a number of political parties that are emerging, that are coming up. And we have also seen the issue of where they have technically, but not in the actual law, expunge or abolish the death penalty, because the death penalty is an entrenched clause in our constitution, which you can only remove it through referendum. And they have done that, which also helps to build confidence in the community. But the biggest challenge we have on human rights, which is, it's really hard for government to address those issues, is the right to a respectable living. That one is a non-starter. In fact, when you ask, when you challenge, they will refer you to the third generation and second economic and social and cultural rights. That is, the government is a progressive realization to make sure that you have food, you have shelter, you go to school or whatsoever.
That begs in my other question. Now, how do you measure the enjoyment that you did see or the progress of human rights beyond government reports?
How do we measure human rights beyond government reports? We look at different parameters. Sometimes you cut across the first, second, and third generational rights, civil and political rights, economic, social, and cultural rights, the environmental rights, your climate, use of access to clean water, or whatsoever. So you look at all those three generational rights and see where we have achieved some progress and where there are challenges. But many times, in the economic side, there's serious challenges.
Okay. I've just been told that, Elkas is with us now. Good morning to you, Elkas. He's the Director of Communications at the Judiciary of Sierra Leone. Good morning.
Good morning, AYV. Good morning, Sierra Leoneans. Sorry for the hitch. It was due to technical problems, but that has been sorted out now.
It's okay, we do understand. So let's come to the theme. It says expanding access and navigating contemporary challenges. One may wonder why choose such a theme at this time?
Thank you so very much. The reason for carefully selecting that theme is because the leadership of the ECOWAS Court thought it wise to see how best they can come together to expand and strengthen their mandate by bringing together all the key players, that is, those that are part of the community. Mark you, this is the ECOWAS Court is a regional court. And being the regional court, considering the fact that its mandate has been expanded and individuals and state institutions have been given the opportunity to come to the ECOWAS court to bring actions without the interference of the government, without the interference of any party. And at the end of the day, those judges are at liberty. Those judges who are sitting here in Abuja will make sure that those rights that we have violated, justice is meted out to those who approach the court. So the reason why you see not only Nigerians, but Sierra Leoneans, including the Chief Justice of Sierra Leone, who is also the chairman of the ECOWAS Judicial Council, the president of Cape Verde, the Attorney General of Nigeria, Ghana, Benin, all those that are part of ECOWAS are here, is to making sure they consolidate the gains so far of the ECOWAS court, and also to expand the mandate of the court in making sure that they live up to uphold to enforce their judgment, and to making sure that they live up to the expectations or the desired aims and objective of establishing the ECOWAS court.
Elkas, how relevant is the ECOWAS Court of Justice, to ordinary Sierra Leoneans who basically feel disconnected from regional institutions? How relevant is this court?
It's relevant in so many ways. One, we as a nation, Sierra Leone, we are part of the regional body, which is the ECOWAS. And because we are part of it, whatever benefits others are getting, we are getting it. For example, we have a situation wherein we said a journalist from SLBC is currently approached the ECOWAS court to ensure that justice is given to that particular person. This is an individual and another person came to the ECOWAS court without the interference of the government, without the interference of any institution. So that is direct benefit to Sierra Leoneans or citizens of ECOWAS states. So it has direct benefits to institutions, to individuals, even training. You will agree with me quite recently that they said ECOWAS as a body also provided training for journalists. So we have direct individual benefits, we have institutional benefits, we have state-to-state regional integration benefits, and so many benefits we are getting as a nation. And Matthew, Sierra Leone is well seated in the ECOWAS court. The second person, the second most important person, who is the vice president of the ECOWAS court, is a Sierra Leonean. He happens to be a Supreme Court of Sierra Leone, Honorable Mohamed Justice Sengu Kuruma. He is the second most important person, and now the Honorable Chief Justice has assumed the position as chairman for the ECOWAS Judicial Council. That body is there to regulate and monitor the operations of the court as well. And the membership of this court comprises chief justices across the ECOWAS region. So, like I said, we have direct benefit, individual direct benefit, we have institutional benefit, and we have benefit as a nation.
Elkas, you just made reference of a particular case of a journalist, but let's talk on the support system in ensuring that Sierra Leonean cases are being brought before the ECOWAS Court of Justice.
Yes, you also agree with me that even the former vice president of the Republic of Sierra Leone, he actually came to when he felt dissatisfied of the way his human rights was violated, he came to the ECOWAS court, and the ECOWAS court ruled. So that's also direct benefit. It's not only the journalists. We have many Sierra Leoneans who have taken their matter to the ECOWAS court. It's because ECOWAS court has that mandate to making sure that justice is delivered, they dispense justice fairly, without favor, and those whose human rights were violated, they making sure that when they approach the court, they rule either, if depending on the merit of their case, either they rule in their favor or they rule against them. So the court is very much important when it comes to regional integration, when it comes to protecting the human rights of citizens of Sierra Leone and also member states.
It's definitely a good news for Sierra Leoneans, but how strong is the enforcement mechanism for ECOWAS court's ruling in Sierra Leone? How strong is the enforcement mechanism, for ECOWAS court's ruling in Sierra Leone?
For this conference, you read out the theme for this year. It actually resonates to what's the question you ask, because when they come together collectively.
Okay, let's come back to you, Gbanie. I'm sure we'll join Elkas quickly as we wrap up the program. I saw you were taking notes. I mean, what does this mean? Because, there's this aspect of distrust with our judiciary system. Would there not be any sort of conflict in terms of rulings with that of, the ECOWAS Court of Justice and Sierra Leone?
No, you see, when you look at he mentioned the case of former Vice President Chief Sam Sumana. You know, and the matter that Sam Sumana took to the ECOWAS court is an infringement into his fundamental human rights that threatens or undermines the principles of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. And so the ECOWAS court, their jurisdiction or their powers is centered on the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. For any breach of the articles contained in that charter by a state, the state will be held accountable. And that was why the ECOWAS court's judgment, the case Sam Sumana took, is a breach of his fundamental rights. And that was why they handed down a judgment in favor of him, that his fundamental rights were breached using articles of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. But what happened? The problem we have with the decisions of the ECOWAS court in Sierra Leone is compliance. How the government comply, because the ECOWAS court don't have an enforcement mechanism. So it's the goodwill of states that believes in the rule of law, justice and accountability to comply to the decisions of the ECOWAS court. We saw when the case between Wanza and the states, the days of Chijankaba blessed memory, on issues of gun boats. Chijankaba did not pay, but when APC came into power, what they did was to pay. They pay Wanza financially. But when the case of Chief Sam Sumana was taken to the ECOWAS court and there was a decision handed down at that time, APC, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice at that time said they are not bound by the decision of the ECOWAS court. But to pay Wanza, they were bound. Was the payment done genuinely or because of kickbacks? That's the question. So I don't have an answer to that. Okay. But to respond to the issue of Chief Sam Sumana, at that time they said the country is not bound to the decision of the ECOWAS court. In this current government, we saw what happened on the issue of pregnant girls being removed from school. The case was taken to court, to the ECOWAS court, and there was a judgment that pregnant girls should not be excluded. And that is why we now have the radical inclusion in the school in the school system. So, which means they are cherry picking what they want. The case of the rape survivor of Adam Avandi that was taken to the ECOWAS court, there was a judgment in the ECOWAS court on the 13th of July 2022 in favor of Adam Avandi, that the government should compensate Adam Avandi with $10,000. To date, as we speak, government has not done anything. They have not even called Adam Avandi, the survivor, that is going under psychological stress as we speak to date. The government is reluctant to engage her to see how they can resuscitate her and encourage her to move on after that rape. And so the issue of, it's not only going to the ECOWAS court to make statements, flamboyant statements, but how do we translate those statements and those actions in terms of complying with the ECOWAS decision? That's the challenge we have. And I think as a government, they need to step up if they believe on the rule of law, justice and accountability.
Alfonso, quickly, as we're about to wrap up this program, do you think the global solidarity is actually translating in real protection for local defenders as yourself?
Well, not yet. The only time we say it will translate to the protection of human rights defenders is when we have the HRD law being passed in this country. And kudos to the government that the last UPR, they accepted all recommendations pertaining to human rights defenders, including the one from Ukraine that said the government should legislate law to protect human rights defenders. And we are grateful to the commitment made by the AG that before the end of this year, there's going to be a cabinet paper in that regards towards the protection of human rights defenders. Once that is done, I think there's a global solidarity in the protection of human rights defenders.
Okay. Quickly, as we wrap up, Alfonso, what reforms are urgently needed in the justice system, in order to protect human rights?
Really, I think there have been infrastructural reforms. There have been structural reforms. I think what is left, this is the individual now, how magistrates, judges, interpret the law. I guess the Special Court for Sierra Leone has given us hope as to how we see the the dispensation of justice. So I want to encourage magistrates and judges to make a rethink and see how they can dispense justice, because their responsibility give meaning to law, and giving meaning to law is by interpreting the law. And so we want to appeal to magistrates and judges, not the lawyers, because the magistrates and the judges, they are the one giving judgment. So we hope that they can put the country first, because this is the only institution that is not answerable to any other person other than the constitution of this country.
All right, thank you so much, Alphonsus Gbanie, who is the Executive Secretary, Human Rights Defenders Network, Sierra Leone. Thanks for being with us this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you in the studio.